Hey, what's up, everyone? I am here today with a topic that might sound a little controversial at the beginning, but not as controversial as you might think. So I'm just going to start with how I thought of doing this. I like air rifles, and I've been searching at some of the online stores like Pyramid Air, Air Gun Depot, sometimes Amazon, sometimes eBay, looking for different air rifles. And I noticed that a lot of the air rifles that are listed are not in stock. And this has been going on for several weeks. It's almost like there's like a run on air rifles, and everything is pre-ordered. And if you want to buy it, pay for it now. They're supposed to be getting them in several more weeks. So it looks like demand has gone way up, and supply is having difficulty keeping up with that demand. So you might say, well, what about local stores? Well, I went to Walmart, and I've been to a few Walmarts, and they have a really lousy selection. I mean, typically they don't really have that much to choose from, but lately it's like what I would call the adult air gun market. They're really on almost nothing around as far as adult, like something an adult would use, not like a little Red Ryder BB gun or something. So it's just basically BB guns and like very low end air guns, but the ones that are slightly better are gone. So and as you know, if you do follow air guns, if you go to Walmart, they typically have 17, 177 caliber and 22 caliber. Nothing else. They don't have any. You'll never see a 25 caliber there, and certainly nothing larger than that. So that kind of takes me to doing this video because I think air guns are great for a little bit of target shooting in the backyard. It's cheap. It can be kind of quiet, so you're not bothering neighbors or anything. You can use them for small game hunting, sometimes large game hunting, but I'll get to that. So there's a lot you can do with it. Now, I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube where they had mentioned, possibility of using like 177 or 22 for self defense. Now, a 22 is typically putting out somewhere in the low to high 20s for foot pounds of energy. 17 caliber, usually that would be like in the 15 foot pounds of energy range. Now that varies obviously with what kind of rifle you're shooting and the weight of the pellet. So that all makes a big difference. And I mean, they can obviously hurt someone. I mean, if you get shot with something like that, it is going to poke a hole in you. You're going to bleed. But it's not like getting hit with a firearm, with a bullet from a firearm. Now, that leads me to whether or not you can potentially use an air rifle for self defense. And I would say the answer is yes. Now, some of you who aren't familiar with air rifles might think I'm crazy, but I'm not talking about the ones they sell at Walmart or if you go to that Dump Dicks, a place like that, because those are 177 and 22. But what a lot of people don't realize is that air rifles come in lots and lots of different shapes and sizes, and after you go past the 25 caliber, you can typically pick them up in 30, 357/9 millimeter, 45, and even 50. They're actually specialty air guns that'll go up to about 70 caliber, but I've very, very rarely seen anything like that for sale. That would be like a specialty thing. But it's pretty easy just to go online and buy a 45 or 50 caliber air rifle from one of the well-known retailers. Now, a couple of caveats with that. Caveat one is a 50 caliber air rifle. Whoops, that just went off. A 50 caliber air rifle is not as powerful as a 50 caliber firearm. A 45 caliber air rifle is not as powerful as a 45 caliber rifle. Typically, I'm noticing that the air rifles are pretty close to a pistol strength, typically. So what I'd like to do is, what I did was I went to Pyramid Air. Let's see. I went to Pyramid Air and I just put a couple of search parameters in, and I looked for air rifles that are either 357, 9 millimeter, 45, or 50, and that are repeaters. So they have a magazine and they could shoot multiple shots. So, just to start this off, my my idea here is that an air rifle could be used for self-defense. It's sure not the best option, though. It wouldn't be my first choice, wouldn't be my second choice, wouldn't be my seventh choice, wouldn't be my 10th choice. But it is possible that something like this could be used in a self-defense situation, particularly if it's one of the large bore PCPs, because typically you would store your rifle with air in the tank because it's actually good for the seals in the tank. From everything I've read and seen and talked to and done myself, it's good to have that air in the tank, maintain the seals. And same thing with the magazines, have the magazine loaded. So what I wanted to do was kind of look at some of the models where you can get off multiple shots, multiple useful shots, and get enough foot-pounds of energy. So I was just looking at a couple of these, and that kind of intrigued me. So I was figuring I'd kind of show you some of these, just to kind of give you an idea, like this one right here. Let's look at this. The Hot Sun Hercules. Oh, one other caveat. For these types of air rifles, they're really, really expensive. As you can tell, this one here is $900, and that's before you get into the ammo and the pump. But as you can see, it comes in everything from 177 to 45. Now, if you look at the 45, let's see, how many foot-pounds of energy does this thing get? If you scroll all the way down, you'll see here, 45, 850 feet per second, muzzle energy of 290 foot-pounds. So it's not as powerful as, say, a 45 handgun. 45 handgun will probably do with a typical bullet, a little over 400 foot-pounds of energy. This is 290, but I believe a 290 would probably be close to, if not more powerful than a 380. So it's nothing to sneeze at. And like I said, there are better options than this, but I'm just want to point out the fact that air rifles have come a long way, and I think a lot of people don't realize some of the power that they have. Now at 357, it actually goes down a little bit, and like I said, some of these are repeaters where they might have a 3-round magazine or a 5-round magazine. Obviously, the wider the diameter of the projectile, the smaller the magazine would typically be. So now we have the 357 9mm, puts out about 150 pounds, 150 foot-pounds. So it's at that size, it's kind of like a really powerful 22 LR. So let's head back here. There's a couple of other ones I just wanted to point out to you. Let's see. Benjamin Bulldog. This is a weird looking one, but I find it a little intriguing. It's a weird looking style, but so if you look at this, it says it gets 910 feet per second, 200 foot-pounds. So I mean that'll do something. You got a 357 projectile going about 200, giving you 200 foot-pounds, and then it has the 10-shot string here. It starts about 897, peaks in the low 9s, and then goes to 817. So you would get probably more than 10 good shots out of one tank if you left air in it. And I'm not sure about the magazine size in here. I want to say it's about maybe a 5-shot magazine, but that is going by my memory. And oh, yeah, right here, 5. So with this one, you figure you have a 5-shot magazine. I believe it is semi-auto, although it might not be, but I believe this one was semi-auto, 5 shots, and like I said, it's putting out about 200 foot-pounds per shot. That's nothing to sneeze at. Now, is it as good as an AR-15 or an AK-47? No. Is it as good as, let's say, a 10mm Glock? No way. Better than nothing? Damn right it is. And like I said, some of them are quite good. The other good thing about this is it's a bullpup design, so 36 inches overall with a 28-inch barrel length. Because it's a bullpup, you can get that, as you know, probably that longer barrel length into a shorter gun. And let's just take a look at one more here, and then I'm going to go to the single shots. But I just wanted to kind of give you an idea, because my hope was that maybe you'll see something you never knew, or think of these air rifles in a different way if you're not familiar with them. This one is the Umarex Hammer, and this is a 50 cal PCP air rifle. And for those of you who don't know what a PCP is, it is an air gun where it has a tank right over here. This part would be the tank, and you would connect either a pump or a high pressure pump or a scuba tank, and you would fill it up so you could take multiple shots without having to either break the barrel or anything like that. So now the hammer, as you could see, was about, I think, $900, $849. It's on sale, $849. 29.5-inch barrel, and it tells you some of the foot-pounds of energy here. Like if you use a 180 grain Umarex ARX projectile, I'm not really sure what that is, it gets 484 foot-pounds of energy. 200 grain projectile, 495 pounds. 250 grain projectile, 555 pounds. If you put in a 550 grain lead projectile, it's going to go 760 feet per second and have 700 foot-pounds of energy. Now, I'm going to compare this to some pistols, firearm pistols. 357, well, those usually would go in the 600 to 700 or so range, depending on the loading you get. It's pretty common for 10 millimeters to go high 500s to maybe mid 600s or so. That's pretty common. Let's see, the 45s, again, typically, because there's a lot of range in each round, as you might know. Low 400s, 9 millimeters, high 300s, and you're talking about a rifle that's a repeater. I think it shoots maybe 3 rounds. It's technically a repeater, again, only 3 rounds, but it has 700 foot-pounds of energy. So, I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, especially considering right here that it will shoot a 550 grain projectile. I mean, that's something massive right there, 550 grains. If you think about the pellets that you're probably used to, those might only shoot, let's see, typically 177 is around 7 to 7.5 grains, and a lot of the 22s, I notice, just the regular Crossmen off the shelf at Walmart, I believe are like either 12 or 14 grains. I think 14 grains. Don't hold me to that. Now, of course, there's a lot of variation, especially if you go to specialty retailers. But, I mean, this is just unbelievable. 550 grains, 760 feet per second, 700 foot-pounds of energy. That's kind of crazy. Now, obviously, it's better to have a magazine than, say, a single shot, because, 10 shots is better than 1. Let's see. If we looked at the single shots, let's see what we get here. This one's one of my favorites. I kind of have my eye on this one. This is the Seneca Dragon Claw. And this one, as you can see, has 2 air tanks here. And just to remind you, I'm on Pyramyd Air right now, but I mean, obviously, they're not sponsoring this video. I mean, I only have like 450 subscribers. They're not going to give me any money or stuff, but this is just one place to find this kind of thing. And if you look, 50 caliber, 679 feet per second, 230 foot-pounds. I was watching a couple of videos, and it still gets pretty decent power. You can get like maybe 10 good shots in the, basically, for lack of a better term, like let's call it the sweet spot, like the green part of the manometer, which is the air gauge on it. So, I mean, these things could technically be used. I mean, I'd rather have one of these than, the proverbial sharp stick, or actually I'd rather have one of these than a lot of other weapons other than a decent quality firearm. But like I said, the point of this isn't for me to say, this is great, you have to go with this, it's way better than a firearm. It's not. My main purpose is just to kind of get people to look into some air rifles that you might not have looked into before. Look into some of the power they have, some of the technological advances. I mean, just the last few years, seeing how they've improved so much, and some of the things they can do. And the technology is probably going to get better and better and better, especially when it comes to putting baffles in and quieting them down a little bit. there's a lot of good stuff coming down the pike. So I just wanted to bring this up to you just so you can kind of take it in and check it out. Because if you're into firearms, this is kind of a nice thing to get involved in, just to kind of expand your collection, expand your experience. Really cool stuff here. And these Seneca, they used to be called Sam Yang. I'm thinking that they were, and I believe Seneca is owned by Air Venturi, which, if you're not familiar with them, they're a pretty big name in air rifles. They're really beautiful looking guns when you look at like the stocks and how they're made. I mean, it's really, really, really cool. So I hope, if nothing else, I kind of expanded your view of air rifles a little bit. If it's something that you're not totally aware of, got you to kind of appreciate some of the power these things put out. I'm planning on doing some more air rifle videos down the road, so if you like that sort of thing, please check back and take a look at the videos. Have a good night. Like and subscribe if you are not subscribed already. See you later.